What if I told you that the market is tracing almost the exact same pattern it drew in 1999, right before one of the worst crashes in modern history? When I first saw it, I had to look at it twice because it is quite of interesting. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not here to tell you crash is guaranteed here, right? But nobody can tell you that. Anyone that does is lying to you. But what I am here to walk through this chart and explain to you what it is saying and what it means for your money and why understanding patterns like these could be one of the most important things you do. That there are two lines in this chart. One is blue and one is red. Think of them as two different runners. There's a blue line represent the S&P 500 from June 1996 all the way to January 2001. That's the era of the dot-com bubble. The era of the internet is going to change everything. That's what they used to say at that time. And it did, but not before it nearly wiped out a whole generation of investors. The red line represents the S&P 500, and from January 2023 to right now, today, the era of artificial intelligence, tech optimism, and the massive market rally we have been living through. And there's where things gets interesting. The chart is overlaying these two time periods on top of each other, lined up so that the shape of the rally matches as closely as possible. It's like taking two different photographs at the same mountain trail shot 25 years apart and holding them up to the light to see if they look the same. And they do, remarkably so, even in this period that we're going in right now. Now let's talk about the two axes, because this chart has numbers on both sides, left and right. So the left axis, those numbers, you are going from 700 up to 1500. Those belong to the blue line, and then they're telling you the actual price level of the S&P 500 back in the late 90s. And the right axis is a number going from 4,000 up to 7,500. Those belong to the red line. That's the price of the S&P in our current era. So even though the dollar values are totally different, because the market is much bigger now than it was in the 90s, the shape of the movement is what matters here. The slope, the rhythm, the rise, the little wobble, and then the surge, it all rhymes. And at the bottom of the chart, you see dates running from 1996 to 2001. These dates correspond to the blue line timeline. The red line is just mapped onto that same scale to show how the shapes compare. You might also notice a red arrow drawn on the chart and the little handwritten symbol underneath it. That arrow is pointing to where the current market is right now, relative to where 1999 was just before things started to fall apart. And that symbol underneath it, it looks like a question mark or what comes next. Does a similar shape mean we're guaranteed to crash? Absolutely not. But it does mean we should be paying attention. And that's exactly what we're going to do. And real quick, if you're new here and you're finding this kind of analysis valuable, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell too, so you don't miss anything. Okay, back to the chart. The dot-com bubble. What actually happened there? To really understand why this chart matters so much, we need to go back in time, back in the late 90s, back in the era of frosted tips, dial-up internet, and the belief that the entire economy was being fundamentally reinvented. Because in lots of ways it was. The internet was real. The technology was real. The opportunity was real. The problem wasn't the technology. The problem was the price people were willing to pay for it. Companies with no revenues, no profits, and sometimes no actual product were getting valued at $1 billion. Why? Because everyone believed they were going to be the next big thing. Investors were essentially they were buying lottery ticket prices for every single ticket in the bowl, and then they were all going to win. The S&P 500 went on an absolutely extraordinary run from 1996 in early 2000. In fact, the blue line on our chart shows it more than doubling over that period from around 650 all the way up to a peak of 1550. And along the way, there were moments of wobble, moments where it looked like maybe things were getting too stretched. In 1998, you can actually see it on the chart. There's a little sharp dip. That's what the Russian financial crisis and the collapse of long-term capital management, a massive hedge fund that nearly took down the entire financial system. Probably forgot about that one. But what happened after the dip? The market bounced right back harder than ever. And that bounce gave people confidence. That's probably what's going to happen right now with the situation with Iran. Yeah, we're getting hit today. But, mark my words, it's going to come back. But that's not what you need to worry about. It's the one after. So basically at that time, it gave them the feeling that the market was unstoppable, that every dip was a buying opportunity, that the old rules about valuation didn't apply anymore. And that confidence that nothing can stop us feeling is exactly what drove the market to its final explosive surge in early 2000. And then, of course, it fell apart. The S&P 500 lost roughly 49% of its value from peak to trough. The Nasdaq, which was even more tech-heavy, lost almost 80%. 80%. Think about it. It's about $1 million. If you had $1 million in the Nasdaq at the peak, you would have $200,000 by the bottom. People, retirement accounts, their college funds, their life savings were gone or severely damaged in a matter of months. Why am I telling you all this? Because the red line on our chart, the one representing today's market, is following an almost identical path, close to what the blue line drew before what happened. So let's talk about what's been happening in our era, starting in January 2023, which is where the red line on this chart begins. The stock market went on an absolute tear. What drove it? Artificial intelligence. The release of ChatGPT in late 2022 was like a starter pistol going off for the entire technology sector. Suddenly everyone believed, rightly or wrongly, that AI was going to fundamentally transform every single industry on Earth. Does this sound familiar? Companies tied to AI, Nvidia, Microsoft, all exploded in value. The S&P 500 climbed from around 4,000 in early 2023 to nearly 6,000 to 6,500. And along the way, just like in 1998, there have been a few wobbles, a few moments where investors got nervous. For each time the market bounced back, and each bounce reinforced the same feeling people had in 1999. The dips are just buying opportunities. Nothing can stop this. Now, here's the thing, and I'm not saying AI isn't real. It is real. It's going to change a lot of things, just like the internet changed a lot of things. But the internet was also real in 1999, and it still wasn't worth the prices people were buying for it at the time. The question is never, is it real? The question is, are the prices people are paying today justified, by the earnings and cash flow these companies would actually generate in the future? And increasingly, serious analysts and institutions, including the team at Alpine, what put together the charts, are raising their hand and saying, we're not sure they are. Now, I want to bring in a framework that comes up over and over, and it comes from the black swan. What is a black swan? A black swan is an event that meets three criteria. One, extremely rare and hard to predict. Two, when it happens, the impact is enormous. And three, after the fact, everyone looks back and says, of course it was going to happen. And even though almost nobody saw it coming at the time, the dot-com crash was in some ways a black swan event. Not in the sense that nobody saw a bubble. Plenty of smart people warned about it. But in the sense that the timing and the severity were almost impossible to predict. Like right now, people are saying this market is going to crash. Look what's going to happen. It's too much. But yet, they keep buying more. And when it hit, it wiped out trillions of dollars of wealth in a way that almost everybody and everyday investors simply weren't prepared for. And here's the thing about black swan events in the financial systems. They almost always arrive when confidence is the highest, which we're not right now, but we will be. When everyone feels like they have figured it out, when every dip has been a buying opportunity for so long that people stop even questioning whether the market could fall significantly. Think of it like this. Imagine you are hiking on a trail and the path has been smooth for miles, no obstacle, great weather. Your guard is completely down. Then, when you're almost likely to roll to your ankle on a rock you didn't see coming, and you get hurt. The market works in the same way. The higher the confidence, the more extended the rally. The longer people have been rewarded for buying every dip, the greater the potential energy building up to the downside. And what this chart is doing is essentially holding up a mirror and saying, yeah, the chart looked exactly like in 1999. And we all know what happened next. Now, and I want to be very careful. This does not mean you should panic sell everything and stuff your money under a mattress, right? This is not how smart risk management works. In fact, reactive panic is usually what causes investors to lose money, even fast. What smart money does is look like it's understanding the environment you're in, knowing that the potential for significant correction exists, and making sure your portfolio is positioned in a way that is something unexpected does happen, a geopolitical shock, a credit event, a sudden loss, you're not wiped out. You want to be the person who, when the storm comes, has already built a shelter, not the person scrambling to find one after the rain starts. So speaking of shelter, and this is actually exactly what my membership community is all about. When you become a member of this channel, you get to watch me build my own personal portfolio in real time. Not an hypothetical portfolio, not a back-tested model. Actual money. I tell you, this is what I'm thinking, and this is what I'm doing. And join me every morning at 8:30, and we talk about it. Through every decision, adjustment, what I'm making it. We've looked at the chart. We talk about history. We talk about the black swan. Now, let's get to the part that actually matters to you. What do I do with this information? First, look at your concentration risk. That is important. One of the things that hurt people the most in the dot-com crash wasn't just that the market fell, it was that many people had all of their money in technology stocks. If the S&P 500 drops 30%, but your whole portfolio is in tech, you might be looking at 50 to 60% loss. So ask yourself, how much of my portfolio is concentrated in the sectors that is being driven by this rally? How much is in AI-related stocks, mega caps? Right now, maybe it's time to invest overseas, diversified. Although everyone is getting hit, you're saying, well, what's the point? Hold on. Not everyone is getting hit. Every morning I show to my members, look, this is going up. Don't forget, Bitcoin was supposed to crash, did much better than expected. So you need to be diversified. Second, think about your time horizon. If you're young, in the 20s, market correction, even a severe one, is not a catastrophe. All markets recover. It's an opportunity. Because if you have 20 or 30 years of runway, a 40% drop just means you get to buy more shares, which is exactly what I've been doing in this temporary lull that we see because of the Iran war. And I tell my subscribers, look, my members, look, this is what I've done today. That's what I've done again today. Okay? I call it going shopping, and many of my members also are going shopping in this period. Now, of course, if you're close to retirement, you need to start the money next week. Well, that's a problem, obviously. So that could be the real damage, because don't forget, you may not have 15 years left. Third, consider having some uncorrelated assets in your portfolio. Uncorrelated just means things just don't move with the market. Historically, gold and certain commodities, although this time not really, because gold has been sold for reasons that have nothing to do with the market itself, but has to do with oil. Some people actually needed cash because their oil, they couldn't believe it, or they were losing money on oil. So there's a bit of pressure on gold right now, which might not be tied to its usual pressure. They don't always go up when stocks go down, but they often hold their value better. In this channel, we talk a lot about gold, precious metal, and commodities. Not because they're glamorous, but because they are going to make you rich overnight, but because they are a form of financial shelter or Bitcoin or a bunch of other things. So and number 4, don't let fear make your decision. This might sound counterintuitive after everything I just said, but it's true. A chart that shows a scary historical parallel is a reason to think carefully, not a reason to panic. The investors who get hurt the most are the ones who swing between extreme greed and extreme fear. Buying at the top because everything feels great and then selling at the bottom because everything feels terrible. The goal is to have a plan before things get volatile, so that when volatility comes, you're executing a strategy, not reaching out emotionally. Now, what could make this different from 1999? Right now, be fair, because good analyst doesn't just look for evidence. Good analysts ask, well, could this be different? And there's a few things worth considering. One, the Federal Reserve has more tools today than it did in 2000. If the market starts to crack, the Fed has shown multiple times in recent history that it's willing to step in aggressively by lowering rates, provide liquidity. That's a floor that didn't exist in quite the same way in late 2000. 2, the companies driving this rally are fundamentally stronger than many .com era companies. Apple, they're making real money. Alphabet, Nvidia, these are real companies, real earnings. So they're not just pets.com, and that matters a lot. 3, AI adoption may be faster and more economically impactful than the internet was. If AI productivity gains show up in corporate earnings quickly, that could actually justify higher valuation, not just rationalize them. And yes, this time could be different. Been different before. The key is to have both possibilities in your head at once, and not to be, ignores the risk, and not to be Pemba Bear who misses every rally. The goal is to be thoughtful. So, in closing, history doesn't repeat perfectly, but it rhymes more than people are comfortable admitting. And this chart is one of the most striking rhymes I've seen in a long time. The shape is not too similar to ignore. The setup is too close to dismiss. This doesn't mean sell everything. It doesn't mean the world is ending. It means pay attention. It means understand your risk. It means have a plan. Because every market in history, every major market event look obvious in hindsight. The .com crash, the 2008 financial crisis. But before each one, there were charts like these. There were analysts raising flags. There were millions of investors who saw the flags and ignored them because it felt too good to stop. Don't be that investor. Be the one who reads the trail, respect the mountain, and has planned for the weather changing.